Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome. The Doctor is in, and we are back with more Umineko When They Cry, Episode 2, Turn of the Golden Witch. Let's see. Last we met, Beatrice just managed to land on the game board herself for once. So this... hold on. Almost dropped my phone. That would not be good. Do I have everything set up properly? Thank you for the lurk, Mickey. Appreciate you being here. Let me check to make sure my sound bites are working as per usual. Okay, that works. I am satisfied. Without further ado, let's get things rolling. Also, I want to apologize in advance. I seem to have something going on with my throat. I think I might have had an allergic reaction to something. I've gotten some meds for it, so hopefully it won't interfere too much, but if I sound weird, that might be why. Anyway. Who is it? Excuse me. I brought lunch. Enter. Excuse me. Estoy aquí además. Okay. Thank you, Saber, for joining. I have no idea what you just said, though. I do not speak Spanish except for hola, adios, amigo, no hablo inglés. No hablo español, sorry. You are here also. Okay, well, thank you for joining. Glad to have you here. Yeah. After receiving approval, Cannon entered the VIP room, pushing the serving cart that carried lunch. The servants called this room the Witch's VIP room. That was because Kinzo strictly ordered that it always be kept clean so that it could be used at any time. Even so, guests would not be allowed into this room no matter who they were. One moment, I gotta adjust my seat a bit. There we go. That's why, at some point, the servants had started calling it the VIP room, which was supposed to be set aside only to welcome the special person Kinzo waited for, the witch from that portrait. And today, Cannon realized that this was absolutely true. When he entered the room, the blonde-haired witch was gazing out the window. Outside, the rain was no longer falling weakly. As she looked out at the beautiful rose garden, which had been tended to for over several days for today's sake, as she saw the winds and rain ravage it, was she struck by some sentimental feelings? Cannon was not able to tell anything more from her back, which faced him. I'll prepare the meal, Beatrice-sama. Cannon went out of his way to call out the witch's name, hoping that she'd turn around. He wanted to know. He wanted to know if the witch who'd tempted him and Shannon in the past had really appeared again. Hey, sorry, I thought my headset wasn't working quite right. We're good. When he did, the witch whose name had been called laughed, her back still facing him. Holding back her voice, she laughed. Cannon was startled. It was almost as though she had read his mind and knew that he had called out to her, hoping to make her turn around. It smells good. It appears Kraus hired a good cook. Yes. He's called Goda and was employed here recently. There is nothing better than being skilled at cooking. Delicious food completes the 3 pillars of pleasure for living in the human world. It is the secret to preventing boredom after 1,000 years. Cannon and the witch's eyes met. Then she grinned. Without a doubt, certainly, this was clearly the witch from that day, Beatrice. The witch that no one but he and Shannon could see in the past finally held a form and had arrived openly as a guest through the entrance hall. Beatrice. Sama. It has been a long time, Canon, the furniture. It has been quite some time. Canon tried to remember to be polite to this guest for the time being, but the visit of the suspicious witch made dark clouds start to enshroud his heart, especially considering that today was the family conference. You appear to be uneasy about what I plan to do now that I have appeared. Am I right? Canon didn't force an answer. This witch probably reads minds, so it's pointless to go to the trouble of saying it out loud. Of course, she could even read his inner resistance. So the witch giggled at Canon's childish defiance. I came to fulfill my promise with Kinzo. My final promise with Kinzo. Your final promise with the master? I lent Kinzo a mountain of gold. When Kinzo gives that up, it will be returned to me with interest. I came to accept that interest tonight. I don't know what you're talking about. However, uncertainty began to gather in his heart. Whatever this witch had to say, it couldn't be anything good. There's no mistake. Whenever witches have something to say, it is never anything good. You are correct. However, like scissors, the potential of witches depends entirely on how they are used. Sometimes there are those like King Solomon who succeed in great exploits. However, most who make use of us end up meeting a cruel fate, just like in fairy tales. But Kinzo is crafty. He has incorporated even my collection of the interest into his ceremony. Is he an absurdly powerful magician who can surpass even me? Or else a mere fool possessed by madness? Amusing. Truly amusing. Canon couldn't guess that what the witch was muttering and laughing about. All he knew was that anything that made this witch laugh must have the exact opposite meaning for everyone else. And in the back of his mind, the horrifying words the witch had spat at him in the past began to resurface. What, did you think I'd lend you my power and ask for nothing in exchange? I'll gladly assist a pair in love, and in exchange I'll enjoy watching the cruel fate they'll eventually meet. I have never come across a better show, not over the course of 1,000 years. Could it be that you... Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the Golden Land, follow its path downstream in search of the key. The witch suddenly began to recite a bizarre poem. Hey Miranda, glad to have you back. How is it going? And my cat has decided to join in on the festivities. She is meowing loudly. I hope you guys can hear her as well as I can with the noise-canceling headphones on. She's got the zoomies. I don't know what to do. Well, zoomies, and she's just got that weird meow, meow, meow thing that she does when she gets the zoomies. So it was something he remembered hearing. Could it be the witch's epitaph? There was no mistake. It was the epitaph that accompanied the portrait of the witch Kinzo had put on display. The relatives had guessed that it referred to the location of the hidden gold, but no one knew what it meant for sure. The witch suddenly began reciting that epitaph. Canon, since you are furniture, I imagine you've heard about it from Kinzo. The day when everything will be returned to the Golden Land has come. Rejoice! The day when you will be freed from the shame of living as furniture has finally arrived. I believe you've wanted that for a long time. To furniture which finds no value in its own existence, merely existing day to day must be nothing but agony. To those with souls, this world is worth clinging to, but those without souls find this world to be full of nothing but suffering. Complicated expressions flitted across Canon's face. This was the day of release that Canon had been looking forward to. However, the coming of this day had been mercilessly sudden. And for some reason, he didn't like the hateful tone used by this witch as she informed him of the coming of this long-awaited day of rest. Canon couldn't even decide what emotion he should be feeling. Why do you not rejoice? Could you actually have some regrets left in the real world? As mere furniture? I have no regrets, because I am furniture. You truly are a model specimen of furniture. How nice, how nice. However, it won't be any fun if you have no regrets at all. Are you saying regrets are how you find pleasure? That is correct. Most witches who live for 1,000 years get tired of life. In order to escape boredom, I adorn people's fates with fruit and brandy and cook them like cakes. I find humans dancing to oppressive fates inside an oven to be so very entertaining. You see, I'm actually a tad famous in this regard. So much so that rare guests come from far away to see my skill at cooking. Perhaps this is something that mere furniture cannot understand. Canon couldn't understand what the witch was saying. However, he fully realized that this was a terrifying being who treated the fate of humans as a show, enjoying it whenever some harm befell them. However, furniture has no soul or life, much less a fate. Pitiful furniture does nothing but serve until the day they are released from the real world. To furniture like that, the witch who would come to release them from everything was a being to be received with overflowing affection. Even though the day Canon should have been waiting impatiently for had come, he was confused by his own inability to accept it easily. Why was it? The face of Shannon, the person he loved as a sister, rose to his mind. And for some reason, Jessica's face did too. Canon bit his lower lip hard enough that it hurt. Thinking about Jessica like that was something furniture must never do. Even though he thought he'd known that, even though he'd complained about Shannon's relationship, why was it that Jessica rose into his mind at a time like this? Alright, looks like the cat's going to be on my lap. Sit down, kitty cat. Yes. Nope. No. We don't rub our faces against the pop filter. He felt a little shameful at his own naivety. And to forget about Jessica, he turned his thoughts to Shannon. Shannon is also furniture. She has no reason not to rejoice at the coming of this day when all will return to nothingness. But Shannon, through her relationship with George, has experienced an emotion forbidden to furniture. Even though she isn't qualified to be bonded with him, she's still trapped in a dream that she isn't allowed to have. Will Shannon be able to joyfully accept this development? No, she won't. Shannon still has lingering regrets. Those will probably become a great source of pain and torture for her. And those lingering regrets were planted by none other than this witch. Why? Because that would be more interesting, nothing more. Dear me. Sorry, guys. Need to hydrate a little bit more, even though I've been hydrating a bit more often than usual so far. Right, let's hope that helps. Adjusting my seat a bit, too, might help. There we go. This day that Shannon should have been waiting impatiently for will probably be a harsh burden for her, giving her emotions that she must never experience. I thank you for granting me us furniture the day of her release, and I hate you for making this day so difficult for Shannon to accept. I wanted to make you suffer from your regrets as well, just like Shannon. However, you continued to live like furniture with foolish honesty, never getting ensnared by me. And yet, it seems you loved Shannon a little too dearly, right? Shannon's regrets are now your regrets. Will those feelings transform into hatred for me? If you wish to kill me, give it a try. As Kinzo's furniture, you should have at least that much power, right? However, if you kill me, then the day of rest for furniture will not come for all eternity. Could you bear to live with that? Are you truly capable of resisting when I try to release you? Kneel. What? Kneel and kiss my shoes. Otherwise, I will leave this place. I'll go back and never show myself again for all eternity. So, Canon, do you think you could bear to live like that? If the door to the Golden Land is open, your hard life as furniture will end. If you desire, I can even give you life as a human. After that, you'll be on the same level as Jessica. Surely you're one to experience the taste of love. There's no point in trying to hide it. After seeing Shannon indulging in the sea of sweet love, you grew jealous. You were sorely tempted to know the taste of love. Stop it. Stop it! Are you trying to ensnare me again? I won't be reduced to a toy for your amusement. Oh? Then I will be satisfied with Shannon alone. After all, you aren't the only one who is implanted with a seed. Even fruiting plants sometimes fail to bear fruit after all. The one who obtains the key must then travel to the Golden Land in accordance with these rules. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. The witch recited the epitaph again. It was so sudden and diverged so strongly from the current topic. However, that challenging smile made it seem almost as though she was using that epitaph as a threat against Canon. Do you not understand? For the ceremony of the epitaphs to succeed, at the second twilight those who are close must be offered as sacrifices. It could be any 2 who are close. A husband and wife, or even a pair of lovers. According to the rules of the ceremony, who will be selected is up to me to decide on a whim. Don't you think there could be no more fitting sacrifice for the second twilight than Shannon as she is now? It's written in plain text. How could you miss it? Well, I mean, I guess if you're too distracted by the portrait and you don't look at the epitaph, maybe. I don't know. You dirty. Canon realized something. Until today, he thought he'd given up everything else and lived as furniture, acting like furniture. But in reality, that wasn't true. He loved Shannon too dearly. Therefore, when Shannon was in pain, Canon shared in that. If only Shannon had continued to live as furniture, indifferently like Canon, without any regrets in this world, he wouldn't have had to be in so much pain. The witch planned a toy with Shannon, who had known the taste of love. No, whom she had taught the taste of love, as she killed her. She wouldn't be welcomed into the Golden Land and granted a compassionate release. Instead, if the witch had her way, she'd be used as a sacrifice, subjected to the utmost of torture and pain, and forcibly turned into a human foundation for this evil ceremony. And this witch would probably make Shannon meet this horrible fate, for no reason other than it was amusing to her. Furthermore, she was threatening to do this so that she could make Cannon, who had never submitted to the witch, finally give in. It was that simple. In the end, though he had tried to resist the witch and avoid pleasing her, he had only made things more amusing for her. After all, he was furniture. No, a toy. They were nothing but toys meant only to distract her from her boredom. Damn it. What will you do, Cannon? If you kneel, I might refrain from choosing Shannon as a sacrifice, see? I've always wanted to make a toy like you surrender someday. Without even a fragment of elegance, the witch sneered at Cannon and laughed indecently. Hashtag kiss Beatrice's feet? Oh gosh. That's right, she'd predicted Cannon's submission even before he'd made that decision himself. Cannon chose to get down on both knees in front of the witch. It didn't matter what happened to himself. However, the one thing he couldn't bear to see was Shannon, who had given him his only reason to live during his days as furniture, being toyed with like this. That was why. Kissing the shoes of the witch was an easy oath for Cannon to make. When his quivering lips actually touched the witch's shoe, Beatrice let a look of ecstasy rise to her face, then laughed with a voice filled to bursting. At that moment, the witch, who had grown bored of life after 1,000 years, was completely filled with the evil emotion that she lived for. What, are you saying he's turned on by witch feet? When lunch ended, the relatives moved to the parlor. Rosa had bought a high-class brand of black tea from a famous store in Ginza that had been served, and the parlor was filled with a pleasant aroma. Since the children were there too, the adults tried to interact like normal relatives on the surface, talking peacefully about recent events and how their children were growing up. It had started raining, so the children couldn't do anything but sit here like this, watching TV, unable to go outside. Maria was apparently a TV kid. Also, reminder for folks who have not joined, if you would like to join my Discord, the link is currently in the chat. Become an apprentice and get the most up-to-date information about what streams I plan on in the near future. If I don't have a set schedule in mind, that's usually where I will discuss it. And also, there's memes and a place where you can share your pet pictures. So, if you enjoy pictures of pets, then by all means. Also, there is my YouTube channel if you've missed previous streams, if you want to catch up on them. And then finally, there's my Twitter account if you would like to get the most... if you'd like to be notified when I go live, Twitter is where I post first. You can also click the little notification bell on Twitch, and that'll let you know when I'm streaming as it happens. Okay, where was I? Okay, I need to adjust my seat yet again. Okay. We should be okay now. And she kept watching a boring daytime program without getting bored, giggling all by herself. At first, Battler joined in, seeming to deepen his relationship with Maria. But he had gotten up early that morning and was gradually hit by a wave of drowsiness. Oh, that's a big yawn. Did you get up really early this morning? Well, something like that. Now that all the tension's gone, I've started getting sleepy while listening to the sound of the rain. Tension? You call freaking out like that tension? At least it is for me. Battler gave another great yawn and slowly lay down on the sofa. He really did look tired. George and the others had tried talking to him, thinking it was a sign of boredom. When they realized he really was sleepy, they decided to let him be. My. They say that if you lie down right after eating, it'll become a mackerel. Stop kidding around. Goda-san said we'd be having calf steak tonight. That'd make it mackerel steak. Kumasawa-san, he looks pretty tired. Could you get him a blanket? Hey, here you go. Kumasawa brought a blanket over from the shelf. The large parlor wasn't cold, but the air had gotten a little chilly. So when Battler took the blanket, he immediately wrapped himself up in it like a turtle. You really were sleepy. When would you like to wake up? I'll wake you. I can't say I've got any particular requests. You can wake me up if you need something from me. And if you don't, just let me sleep forever. Night. Ooh, Battler's sleeping. A nap? A nap? Ooh, I'll do it too. Hey, Maria. Battler's sleepy, so you gotta leave him alone. Kumasawa-san, could you give us another blanket? It was doubtful whether Maria really wanted to take a nap. She probably saw Battler wrapped up in a blanket and wanted to do the same. When she received the blanket from Kumasawa, she joyfully wrapped herself up in it and set up camp again in front of the TV. Sheesh. And just when we finally gathered all the cousins together after 6 years, this guy doesn't have a clue that he's the main guest of this family conference, does he? I can still hear you. We took it easy eating lunch, and there's even a typhoon and rain outside now. Since I've got nothing to do, that means it isn't my turn yet. I wonder about that. If you have a passive attitude like that and never do anything unless something else happens, your life will be pretty boring, right? No, that's not what I mean. How should I put it? At times like this, I like to think about it this way. It isn't my turn. If this were a play, it wouldn't be my turn to go on stage. So the best thing to do is stay on the wings of the stage. You're always the main character of your own life, right? Why are you acting like you're in a supporting role? You gotta move forward by yourself and get up on the stage. That's not what I mean. I'm trying to say it's not my turn yet. Sorry, I'm sleepy and my mind's a mess. Give me a break. Oh. No kidding. You're so sleepy, you're spouting nonsense. Let's leave him be for now. Hey, I can't let him get away with saying crap like that. You're always the main character in your own life. I got serious issues with what Battler's saying. He's just half asleep. Don't take him too seriously. It's just that lack of guts. You know, not wanting to go on stage just because you think you can't be the main character. Something about it just pisses me off. With distant eyes, Jessica gazed out the window at the gray rose garden obscured by rain. When she put her forehead up against the glass, the pleasantly cool sensations seemed to chase away memories she was trying to forget. So, it just wasn't your turn yet? Is that it? Then just when will you get up on the stage? In that case, who the heck is the main character on this stage? Dang, it's like you think you can do whatever you want. What the hell is all this? It's all screwed up! I was merely amused that your reason for denying me was based on whether there were 18 or 19 people. I just tried changing my opening move, no more. Your greatest basis for denying me is simply that I wasn't laid out as a piece on the game board. So all I have to do is start by focusing on the queen, like this. Isn't opening the road for the queen on your first turn one of the classic moves in chess? Quit playing around! There's no way I can accept something like this, right? A witch came in, walking right through the entrance hall, you say? What a royal load of bullshit! What's this? In the last game, I gave you incredible freedom in making your moves, correct? This time, all I'm doing is moving my pieces in response to your moves. Are you already giving up right at the start? The Queen's Gambit is famous and popular and horribly misnamed. I'm curious as to how that is. Why is it horribly misnamed? You bastard! Don't mess with me! Like hell I give in! Great move. Just go ahead and just move however you like. Okay, so your turn's far from over, is it? Move however you want. Form a huge battle formation while you still can. I'll definitely withstand you. I'll definitely corner you. Come at me as best you can. I don't want you to have any excuses. It's horribly misnamed because it's not actually a gambit. You can recapture the lost material if you want to. Okay. You aren't even close to making me accept something like a witch. That's right. Just now it looked like Maria's candy was fixed with magic. But you might have actually had another one of the same candy hidden in your pocket and switched them with that little show, make it only look like you'd fixed it with magic. Yeah, that's right. That has to be it. It's useless. It's all useless. Oh. Rosa saw the moment when the candy split into butterflies, correct? Who cares about that? That was a hallucination or a trick, or maybe she just saw it wrong. That isn't a big problem. So you throw out the part you can't explain as trivial? I see. Is that your move in response to mine? You've dug your own grave, Ushiromi battler. It still isn't your turn yet. Allow me to make my move for a little longer. It has barely begun the turn of the witch. Roll credits. Ignore the parts you don't like. Sure, why not? It works for famous politician. That is so true. Any politician, they just ignore the parts that they don't like about whatever. When they started hearing Battler's snores, the relatives went their separate ways, leaving the parlor and letting Battler sleep in silence. Need to hydrate again. I'm getting tongue-tied. Even though it had been so lively in the parlor with so many people gathered there, when all of them scattered at once and were swallowed up by the vast mansion, it created an eerie silence with no sound except that of the rain. Nope. I haven't met a person like that even once. Aniki? I haven't met them. Kirie-san, is that true? Even I only greeted her briefly when she came into the entrance hall. She looked like she was a bit over 20. I told her my name, but she didn't tell me hers. She was being guided by Genji-san, and I saw her go up to this... Excuse me.
I saw her go up to the second floor.
So it'd probably be faster to find Genji-san and ask him directly. Still, what a strange turn. The mystery woman had spoken to Kyrie. Without naming herself, she'd sneered that Kyrie should have had a vague idea as to her identity. That brought someone to mind. And then there was her look-alike, the witch in the portrait. Was this person trying to say she was the witch of the portrait herself?
I realized she was probably laughing at me for that reason. Even though it was our first meeting, she spoke as though she knew I'm your second wife.
Aniki, you really don't know anyone like that.
You talk too much. I've never seen a blonde woman like that go in or out of this mansion.
That kind of thing doesn't matter. Problem's what happens if that woman starts calling herself Beatrice. She starts calling herself the manager of father's assets.
Or maybe she plans to call herself his mistress's daughter and demand that she get a share of the inheritance. Either way, we've had one heck of a joker slipped into the deck. Did Nissan bring her here? Or did father?
This is bad. We thought we could manage something if we could corner Aniki in our talks. But this takes us back to square one.
Hey, Christonium, how are you? Thank you for joining, and let me get you a shout out here. As soon as I remember to turn on my keyboard, which I keep off so that way my cat doesn't turn off my computer on me, because there is a power button located on the keyboard. Why in God's name would you do that without giving it some kind of, are you sure you want to power down thing? Yeah, check out Christonium's channel. They're a variety streamer. Last we were streaming Satisfactory, and they're currently working on getting to affiliate. They've been great help to my channel, so I hope you'll give them a look as well. Alright, keyboard goes off, and back to the story. I'm not even through the first chapter, and I've already exhausted my one water cup. Usually I don't exhaust one, except for like when I'm halfway through the night. Okay. I don't know what kind of schemes you've been making when I'm not around, dear, but it looks like we've been given a little time to form a counter-strategy.
Yeah, better to have some time to prepare than to have that blonde-haired Neichan suddenly appear at the dinner table and scare the shit out of us. Till we know why she's appeared, there's a limit to the kinds of counters we can make. What could she be after?
Isn't it obvious? She's going to claim that she's the rightful heir to father's inheritance. Father's still captivated by Beatrice. If he had a daughter with her, you can bet that he'd want to leave all his fortune to her. She might even thrust some strange will in front of us. If we take it to court, we could probably claim a quarter or the half of it. But it'd probably be impossible to divvy out the inheritance until that's settled. We can't have that. I can't, neither can you, Rudolph. And the same goes for Rosa, right?
Each one of us needs to gather money quickly for our own reasons. It's our biggest weak point. So, what are they after? Kyrie, can you guess?
This is all news to me, but it sounds like we're starting from the premise that we've got an urgent need to collect money, right?
Kyrie-san, in a man's business, you sometimes need funding when you're on the offensive. Please, understand that.
What's this, Rudolph? You didn't tell Kyrie-san about it?
Sorry.
Hey, Westphalia, thank you for joining. Glad to have you here. How's it going? Huh. Oh, you know what? I saw you were streaming earlier, but I was not able to join at the time, so let me give you a shout out. Let's see. Westphalia was last seen playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Okay. So is that what you typically play, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, or do you play a variety of games, Westphalia? Anyway, glad to have you aboard. It's been pretty good. It's all good, by the way. Let's see. Sorry. I wasn't really hiding it. Actually, it was kinda... It's alright. If you decided this wasn't something you needed to tell me about, I won't press you about it right here. What's more important is finding out what this Golden Witch is after, right? Yeah. Now that you know what we know, can you see how the enemy might come at us? Thanks for the plug. Also, I'm leaning more towards variety streaming. Yeah, I mean, variety streaming is... some streamers just do really well with finding their niche game and sticking with it. Other streamers, they prefer to do a variety, and it just kind of depends on the personality and what you're going for. You know, me, I started this channel well, let me rephrase that. When I started to actually focusing on growing my channel, I decided that I wanted to stream a large variety of story-based games and also stream ones where I can flex my vocal talents, like this one. Okay. But others, you know, they're just really good at a specific game, or they found that there's a target audience that is not being catered to as much as the target audience would like, and so they've decided to make use of that. Okay, anyway, let us continue. Rudolph had a certain measure of trust in Curie's unique thinking technique, chessboard thinking. Of course, it didn't give him any more peace of mind than fortune-telling, but every time Rudolph was polishing up some important strategy, he'd give a great deal of thought to Curie's advice. For a while, Curie pressed her finger against her forehead, considering. Thank you, appreciate that. Judging by the fact that her arrival was kept hidden until today, she must be planning to catch us by surprise in some way. We can't tell for sure whether she's after assets or being recognized as a relative. However, her coming was kept secret until today, which probably means she didn't want us to take any measures against her, something we might have done if we'd known beforehand. So her goal is probably something that could be hindered if we were to take measures against her. Thank you, appreciate that. Glad to hear it. Understand? I get it. So if she had a will that Father had already written, or something that could prove that she's a blood relative, if she had some unshakable, rock-solid proof like that, you'd think she'd announce it beforehand. That's right. On the contrary, since we're in a position to doubt her, she should have brought a lawyer or an expert and thrust some completely undeniable proof before us, if she could. So the mere fact that she's launching a surprise attack shows that our foe can't win with a frontal assault. Makes sense. The trump card to win no matter what, it's best to play it out in the open. If you play it in a roundabout way, it might end up weakening its impact. Skipping to the conclusion, we can probably expect to be faced with some huge surprise, something related either directly or indirectly to the inheritance problem that's on everyone's minds. Our opponent probably plans to overawe us simply by the impact of this shock. However, no matter how great the impact might be, it cannot be absolute. You hope to incorporate retro games once you get a capture card. Oh, that'll be fun. In other words, we have enough leeway to take advantage of this. You've really got brains. Even understanding just this much is really reassuring. In other words, you're telling us not to get sucked into our opponent's pace. In the end, it's an extremely simple conclusion. No matter what our opponent brings up, we should deal with it calmly without rushing things. This is just the very first step in the art of negotiation. You really can't say you've predicted your opponent's thoughts with just this. Come on. Just like usual, that was pretty good. Now that we know we've got a little leeway to attack, it helps us relax a bit. What we don't know is how she's connected to Kraus-Nissan. Will it be a surprise for Kraus-Nissan too, or was he actually the one who called her here in the first place? If it's the latter, that might make things very troublesome. That's right. Secretly calling a mystery woman on the day of the family conference. It would be in terrible taste, but it does feel like something Nissan would do. Aniki, let's do this. As long as she can't clearly prove her identity, we won't accept her position in any way. That would be for the best. Already she's refused to introduce herself to Kirie-san. We can't let our conference be disturbed by the statements of some unknown woman.
She might even show us proof that she's a blood relative. If she can prove father's blood runs through her veins, like with a maternity record document, there's nothing we can do. It's always possible to suspect that physical evidence has been faked. And even if it's real, in order to prove that the person in the documents is the person we'd see, we'd need to check their condition at a hospital. At the very least, it'd be impossible to prove that now on Rokenjima. You're right. So in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us now on Rokenjima, it can't be accepted as truth. We can't believe anything until the typhoon passes and they prove it to us at the proper place. Spotting all kinds of holes in this stuff like this is Aniki's specialty. We'll be counting on you. Are you joking? You'll be helping too. We need the money. We need it quickly, and a large sum. Our fates are all tied together in this. As if we just stand by and let some suddenly appearing mystery woman destroy the inheritance we're after. Rudolph and Ava always formed a united front as siblings in times like this, sickened by the idea that their own inheritance might be snatched away by an outsider. Kyrie noticed how indomitable they looked, shook her head slightly, and gave a small sigh as she gazed out the window. Outside it was still raining heavily, and everything was gray, having lost all vibrance. The lush garden that the sun had shone on earlier now felt like a lie. For some reason, the words Ava said a second ago kept repeating in Kyrie's head. So in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us now on Rokenjima, it can't be accepted as truth. There was an odd nuance to those words. At that moment, the island was closed off by the typhoon and isolated. They had access to no public institutions and no hospital. So on this island, no matter what manner of proof related to the outside world was shown, it would always be possible to call it a lie. It would be impossible to prove that something was the truth. Now that they were isolated from the outside, all truths whose proof lay in the outside world would be called lies. So does that mean that right now, on this Rokenjima, no truth exists at all? Does it mean that everything will now be ruled by lies alone? It almost gives the illusion that we've left the human world of truth and have been shut away inside another world, one of lies. Kyrie remembered that woman's appearance one more time. She remembered both what she had looked like and the witch of the portrait. On this island, which had been cut off from the world of humans and shut away in the world of non-humans, a non-human being has come to visit. Kyrie couldn't think of the smile that appeared on that woman's face as anything other than a portent of misfortune. I get the feeling my chessboard's thinking has missed a vital premise, one that'll be necessary to understand that misfortune-bearing smile. Yes, that smile made me feel as though someone inhuman was mocking me. I based my reasoning on the assumption that our opponent is a human like us. However, just like this island is now, she may be a being that isn't human, and human values may not matter to her. If that's true, all of our reasoning is useless. For what reason has the witch been invited here today? Only one thing is certain. Now, in this instant, she's staying somewhere in this vast mansion.
Dameda. Zenzen Dameda. Maria, around lunchtime today we met her outside, right? A woman. Who was she? Ooh, I said it over and over. Beatrice. Maria, did you ever meet Beatrice before that? Ooh, I've met her every year. Every year? In this mansion on Rokinjima. Ooh. I don't know what ooh means. Is that true? Yes. How long have you been meeting her? How many years ago did it start? Ooh, I don't know. You don't know? What do you mean? Was it last year? 2 years ago? Longer than that. Ooh.
Rosa was astonished. Only the Ushiromiya family mansion existed on this island, so there couldn't have been any humans other than themselves here. And yet Maria said she's been meeting with this suspicious woman every year during the family conference. If what Maria said was the truth, then that strange woman called Beatrice had been in the family conference every year. That's insane. Is Maria saying that eerie woman was at the family conference every year, and none of us ever noticed it? Even though Rosa had just met the woman herself a couple hours ago in the rose garden, she was overcome with a strange emotion that told her not to accept that existence. What in the world did I meet with earlier today in the rose garden as the typhoon grew near and the winds roared? Maria, you said you met with her every year. What do you two do when you meet?
Ooh, we sing songs and learn magic. And I learned how to draw magic circles. Really? That's incredible. Maria, you often draw scribbles. Magic circles in your notebook, right? Did she teach you that too? Ooh! You know what? Beatrice drew examples to teach me. Come on, look!
Maria joyfully fished around in her handbag. Then she drew out a single notebook and began opening to that page. Most of the pages were covered with drawings that were literally scribbles. All of them were occult-like things, and while it might sound rude to Maria, who was joyfully flipping through the pages, they were all creepy.
Look, here! Beatrice drew it! Ooh!
Each one of the pages in the group Maria opened to had an eerie magic circle. Furthermore, at a glance, Rosa could see that Maria hadn't drawn them. Now here's a question for you. Why did Beatrice draw the symbol of the scorpion that could damage her? The strength of the strokes, the thickness of the lines, how clean the shape was. By itself, it wasn't enough to guess the background of the person who had written it, but it was enough for Rosa to be sure that it was someone older than Maria. Rosa had to accept it now. There really was a person on this Rokinjima that she herself hadn't known existed until now. Maybe she redacted? Or you're saying that maybe she did something and you're redacting that something that she did. And this person had come to the family conference every year to play with Maria.
Maria, does the witch Beatrice live here?
Speculating, but don't want to spoil her. Gotcha.
Or does she live outside the island like us? Ooh, Beatrice is the witch of Rokinjima, so she lives on this island. So you're saying she's on the island even on days when it isn't the family conference, right? Ooh. I don't know what ooh means! Yes or no? Yes. Ooh. What in the... I can't believe it. How long has this unknown witch been living on this island? I used to live on this island. I lived on this island, passing the time in the mansion, in the rose garden.
She redacted.
And even so, I never encountered a witch like that, right? Mama? Mama? What's wrong? Mama? My head hurts. I was probably getting a little mixed up with my memories from when I was a young girl. When I was young, I was terrified of the witch, unlike Maria. So for me, the name Beatrice was a synonym for terror. Surely my fear from those days has been revived by the appearance of a woman going by that name. She can't be a witch. She's obviously a human calling herself Beatrice, right? That's right. That witch entrusted me with an envelope. What in the world could that be?
Rosa pulled that Western envelope out of her pocket. It was one of the envelopes that bore the Ushiromiya family crest, which Kinzo used for his personal letters, and its red sealing wax had even been sealed by the head's ring, which Kinzo held, which meant this envelope belonged to the Ushiromiya family head. In other words, it was from father. Why was a woman calling herself Beatrice holding it? And why was a woman calling Beatrice holding it? And why did she give it to me? That's right, I'm sure she said to read this aloud at dinner. What in the world could be written inside? A sense of uncertainty gripped Rosa, as if opening this envelope might let loose an incredible misfortune. However, at the same time, a little curiosity sprouted up too, urging her to find out what was written inside before the other siblings could. Using common sense, one might guess that it contained a huge decision somehow related to father's inheritance. Actually, since she'd received it from a woman who called herself Beatrice, there simply had to be some connection. Does it mean this person wants, not just the 4, but a total of 5 people to be included in the inheritance?
I need a large sum of money, and I can't wait long. I feel like such a sinful daughter for discussing father's inheritance while he's still alive. But there's no time to spout off cheap ideals. I've even colluded with Rudolf Nissan and Eva Nissan in order to get some money out of Kraus Nissan. Coming from that position, I can't help but see the appearance of the witch as a sign of approaching misfortune. What could be written in here? I'm sure it's something frightening. Shall I read it secretly myself first?
The witch requested that it be read at the dinner table with everyone gathered. But if that's what she wanted, why couldn't she just read it aloud herself at dinner? Why did she go to all the trouble of entrusting it to me? Simply put, is it because she doesn't mind if I read it secretly beforehand? It'd be better to secretly read the contents first. I understand that'd mean breaking my promise. But this is no longer the time for cheap ideals. Depending on the contents, I should probably discuss it with Eva Nissan and Rudolf Nissan, too. They're always really good thinkers when it comes to this kind of thing. When I gulped and I put my hand to the red sealing wax, something suddenly pulled on my sleeve and I let out a small scream. What? What? Maria? Don't scare me like that. What is it? Ooh, you mustn't. Huh? In Maria's expression was the same portent of misfortune she'd felt from that witch, and it sent a tingle up her spine. Beatrice told Mama to read that letter during dinner. You mustn't break a promise with a witch. That's not it. I just wanted to look at the envelope for a second. I'll keep my promise. After all, I always tell you to keep your promises. Of course I keep my promises. Yes, Mama's a good girl. That laugh. It isn't cute, so stop it. Ooh. Come to think of it, you received a letter too, Maria. What was written inside? I haven't opened it. Beatrice said I must open it until the time to open it comes. So I'm taking good care of it. Ooh. I see. You listen well to what Beatrice says, don't you, Maria?
Ooh, I'm Beatrice's disciple, so I listen well to what my teacher says. I see.
Rosa realized something. Mixed in with Maria's gaze was the glint of someone that wasn't her. If Rosa broke the rules and opened the envelope here, Beatrice would certainly learn of it. Because Maria was the witch's disciple. Maria was in contact with that witch.
I'll keep my promise. So tell Beatrice not to worry, okay? Ooh, I'll tell her. Hey, Maria, if I wanted to speak to Beatrice, how could I meet her? I don't know. Beatrice is very fickle, so she always appears suddenly. I don't know a way to get her to meet me. But you know, she's always watching me. So if I get in trouble, she'll definitely come and save me afterwards. She's definitely erased her form and is hiding close to me. Don't I always tell you to stop laughing like that?
Rosa reflexively hit Maria on the head. That put a stop to Maria's laughing, but it wasn't able to erase the color that had risen to those eyes, a color that seemed to bear a portent of misfortune. Rosa swore. She swore that, at least until they left this island, she would not leave Maria alone. She couldn't allow an unknown being to make direct contact with her daughter any longer. Okay, so that is the end of one chapter. I'm going to go on break for a few minutes so I can get up and stretch. And I'm going to be putting an ad break on, so I will be back after these messages.
Little technical difficulties getting back in, sorry. When I returned to my seat, I'd found a merciless thief had placed herself in it. We're back, though. So, give me just a moment to get settled in. Appreciate you. I hate hitting my mic stand with my cup. Alright, where was I? Yeah, appreciate you waiting here for me. Let's continue. Maria still hasn't come back. I wonder if she's getting scolded by Aunt Rosa again. Ever since they'd met Maria at the airport, she'd been romping around, chatting about Halloween the whole time. But maybe she'd cut loose a little too much, acting a little too boisterous on the plane, on the boat, and during lunch, because Rosa had cautioned her several times. At times like that, Aunt Rosa tended not to scold her too much in front of people. More often, she would take Maria aside and scold her alone. Yes, it's alive! So since Maria had been called off somewhere, they figured that she must be getting scolded. When they looked at the clock, they realized it was almost 6. Of course, they couldn't imagine what she'd been getting scolded all this time. Maybe it was time for some anime she watched every week to start. She probably hadn't left the mansion's parlor.
Maybe Battler-sama woke up and they've been playing together.
After all, Maria-chan thinks of Battler-kun as a new friend. She must have had a lot of fun when she played Halloween with Battler-kun at the airport. Battler looked like he was having a lot of fun himself. Maybe he's gotten big, but he hasn't changed a bit.
That's true. I get the feeling Battler-sama was gracious enough to remain as he was 6 years ago.
Shannon, do you remember what he was like then?
Yes, because he was, well, very energetic.
I also remember the 4 of us playing together 6 years ago. Shannon acted a lot like a big sister back then. That's right. I get the feeling she was even more dependable then than she is now.
But back then, I didn't truly understand my place, so I did quite a few rude things.
Don't worry about understanding your place in that sense. When you're on the job is one thing, but when you're taking a break and with us, like now, I'd rather you stay and be friendly, just like the old days. That's right. There's nothing wrong with acting differently, depending on whether you're the servant Shannon or the off-duty Sayo. You aren't a slave, you're just working as a servant, right? I think of you, Shannon, no, Sayo, as my oldest friend.
Thank you very much, my lady.
It seemed that Shannon understood the hidden meaning behind Jessica's words. After all, she'd heard a bit about Jessica and Cannon's history from the both of them. Apparently, George had heard something of that history, too. He'd walked towards the window and looked up at the darkening, rainy sky.
Cannon may still be childish in some ways, but I think he's starting to grow a bit in his way of thinking.
Well, come on, quit it already. I guess I let myself get swept away by the mood once or twice. After watching you two, I might have gotten a bit jealous, feeling like I was getting left behind. Forget about me. More importantly, how's it going between you two? Looks like it's going pretty good, huh?
I wonder...
Yes, it's going very well. Shannon was lost for words, her face red, while George answered brightly and immediately. That carefree attitude made it easy to see that their relationship was proceeding so perfectly, it'd make anyone envious. Dang, I'm jealous. So does that mean Shannon's gonna resign and have a party soon?
I wonder...
Oh, there's a good question. I wonder what she'll say. George laughed teasingly, as though pressing Shannon for an answer. Getting some serious true crime vibes with the narrations? I've not actually seen that, so that is completely on accident. It's loosely based off of the opening narration for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Alchemy, the science of understanding, deconstructing, and reconstructing matter. However, it is not an all-powerful art. It is impossible to create something out of nothing. If one wishes to obtain something, something of equal value must be given. This is the law of equivalent exchange. It is the basis for all alchemy. In accordance with this law, there is a taboo among alchemists. Human transmutation is strictly forbidden. For what can equal the value of a human soul? Except that my narrator voice is a little bit lower in the chest, so it's easier to sustain. It was probably the way they usually flirted when they were alone. Jessica could only smile bitterly and say, "Yes, yes, thank you, that's enough." I have a dream. I don't just mean some ambition to become the leader of my own domain in business. I also dream of building a happy family together with a partner I can spend my life with. I want 2 kids at the very least. It'd be nice to be able to do some sports as a whole family. And many more things besides that. I often talk with Shannon about that kind of thing. Though every time I do, she always laughs and says I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you, Westfall, I appreciate it. For some reason, even at the age I am now, I find myself thinking about what it'd be like to live peacefully at my old age. With healthy grown-up kids and grandchildren running around all over the place. If only I could spend the rest of my life at a slow pace surrounded by that, together with Shannon forever. Yeah, you're definitely getting ahead of yourself. But how should I say it? It sounds like you, George Nissan. Hey, Lady Catherine, come here. No? Okay, you're just gonna run away? Fine.
Being surrounded by a family like that would probably be so wonderful. The ideal family I've painted in my mind is something like that.
To Shannon, who'd been raised in an orphanage, that harmonious image of a family was probably something to be yearned for. And George, who had made an absolute promise to grant that wish for her, may truly have been a fitting person for her to spend her life with. To Jessica, Shannon was a precious friend. George was surely the one who most fit to entrust that friend's future to.
Well, I don't want to throw cold water on you guys, but Uncle Hideyoshi aside, what are you going to do about Aunt Ava? Wouldn't it be pretty tough to win her over?
There's no reason for anyone to worry about something like that. No one but me gets any say in who I choose to be my partner. I will bring Shannon happiness. Whose permission do I need for that?
Whoa! George Nissan, that was cool. Can't believe you can say stuff like that embarrassing out loud. I don't remember you ever being that kind of character in the past.
As I say, if you don't see a boy for 3 days, you should watch him closely. I grow as much as anyone. I intend to study more and more and grow to be the man Shannon deserves. The one who can bring her happiness. Maybe even George realized how embarrassing the words coming out of his mouth were. His face turned very slightly red, and he scratched his head.
George-san?
It's okay. I'm sure Mother will be difficult, but you can leave that to me. You'll see. I'll make all the relatives accept you as my partner.
Awesome. I'm jealous of you, Shannon. Seriously. I'm very grateful that you're willing to go so far. Come to think of it, I'm starting to feel like a third wheel here. Maybe I better leave, huh? Oh, are you coming here? Are you approaching me? Instead of running away, you're coming closer?
Oh, there's a phone call, apparently. As Jessica rose with a forced smile from the bed she'd been sitting on, the phone rang. Before Jessica picked up the receiver, wondering what this could be about, Shannon looked at the clock and jumped.
Apparently, she'd spent too much time on her break.
I'm sorry. I forgot it was time for work. If you'll excuse me.
At the same time Jessica picked up the phone, Shannon began dashing out of the room.
Shannon. Again, the usual time at the usual place. Yes. Excuse me. Hello, it's Jessica. Genji-san. Yeah, Shannon's going back to you guys now. We held her up, so please don't scold her. Yes. I see. So it's almost time for them to get ready for dinner.
Many plates were lined up on the counter in the kitchen. Preparations for dinner were proceeding steadily. The number of plates lined up there was 19. That was one more than should have been set up for the annual family conference.
I can't accept it. Why can't I deliver it directly?
Goda-san flared up at Genji, paying no heed to the pot that was spitting steam. The master enjoyed eating alone in his study, so his food needed to be served in that room. However, that was something that always happened. Of course, Goda-san would want to set the table for the master with his own hands, since he'd put his heart and soul into his cooking. But the master had imposed a strict rule that none but the servants bearing the Golden Eagle crest enter his study. So while Goda-san would be able to greet the master from outside the study, not once had he been granted the honor of carrying his cooking inside. Goda-san was always irritated by this. Of course, he was a newcomer in terms of years of service. However, he had piled up plenty of experience from his previous jobs, and he was quite confident that he'd be able to perform in front of Kinzo in a manner that would do him no disservice. And yet, simply because he was not permitted to wear the Golden Eagle, he still hadn't been blessed with this honor.
Can you imagine what damage that would do to his pride? You might think tonight was the repeat of that, but it wasn't. Because tonight there was a person other than the master who wanted their food carried to their room. Apparently, this person is an extremely rare and honored guest, and we've been given strict orders to treat them in the same manner as the master, the family head. Goda-san must have wanted to earn some points by serving this honored guest with his own hands. After all, he was an extremely vain person. If he wasn't qualified to serve the master, then at least a guest of the same rank. He simply couldn't find time during lunch, so Kanon-san had gone in his place. So he truly desired to personally serve this person tonight's meal at the best dinner of the year. But Genji-san had put a stop to that. Something about how Goda-san didn't wear the Golden Eagle. After being told once more that he wasn't qualified, Goda-san lost his patience. So heart-rending, Goda-san. I cannot do anything more than watch like this from the shadows.
Kumasawa-san, if you have enough free time to dawdle around, please get the dining hall ready. Is the tablecloth set?
Oh, my apologies.
When it became her turn to bear his wrath, Kumasawa slid out into the hall. Beatrice-sama is exactly the same rank as the master. All rules regarding her are to be respected just as much as those involving the master. Goda-san, please devote your attention entirely towards your own task and serve all the relatives.
I wouldn't mind if it was you, Genji-san, but is it really okay to let a child like this serve such a guest? If she made some blunder, it would be quite embarrassing. I know they've served here a long time, but that doesn't mean they've been trained in the proper areas. If you'll allow me to speak freely, they are completely lacking in the fundamentals that might qualify them to interact with such a guest.
Goda spoke bluntly, even though Shannon was standing right there in the kitchen. Shannon was the one whom Genji had ordered to carry dinner to Beatrice's room. By the ranking system among the servants permitted to wear the Golden Eagle, Shannon was certainly the second highest in rank. If the highest rank, Genji, went to set the table in Kinzo's room, then it fell to Shannon to set the table in Beatrice's room. Goda's pride was always horribly injured by this ranking system. At times like this, he'd speak out bluntly and rudely against Shannon and Kanon. Goda kept raising examples of each of Shannon's failures until now, making a ruckus about how she couldn't do this or was terrible at that. Shannon, who'd listened to this with her head hung in shame, heard Kanon's voice from behind her. Cannon had been leaning against the wall in the hallway near the kitchen entrance, a blind spot from the inside, and had been listening to all of this. He probably knew that if he entered the kitchen, sparks would start to fly his way.
I've got to say it. That man's scum. But we could learn a lot about the fundamentals of entertaining guests from him. Goda-san has learned so much, so he'd be a great reference. Nee-san, you sure are nice. More importantly, is the guest in the VIP room really Beatrice-sama, as they say? Yes. I met her when I was sent to serve her lunch. There can be no doubt it's her. Really? Was she doing well?
Cannon remembered that he and Shannon had different... Hold on. Gotta hydrate again. My goodness. Cannon remembered that he and Shannon had different impressions of Beatrice. Oh, wrong direction for scrolling. To Shannon, Beatrice was a cupid of love who had granted her magic to establish her relationship with George.
As opposed to a cupid of what?
I'm just saying, are there other cupids out there that shoot people with their arrows for other reasons? Like, I don't know, is there like a cupid of money? A cupid of debt? Cupid of... There's a cupid of death? That's a thing? Judging by the expression that rose to her face, it looked like she couldn't wait to inform Beatrice of how her relationship with George had progressed. However, Cannon already knew. That witch came here with a terrifying goal in mind. The nebulous witch that only they'd been able to see in the past had now been revived so fully that she could walk in openly through the front door, and even have dinner carried to her. Once, when she'd vanished from in front of Cannon, the witch said something about how her own power was still weak. So if that witch was now appearing so openly, did it mean she'd finally regained her former power? And she said something else, too. She definitely said that she'd sown the seeds of love, while fully aware that they would fail. And she said even more. She definitely said that the day had finally come, upon which the door to the Golden Land would be opened. You believe so if the memory is correct? Might have been from a book you read, though? Gotcha. Alright, I will look into that later.
Shannon, she's planning to hold some bizarre ceremony with a master, and you can bet it'll be something too horrible to imagine. And no one will be able to resist. What are you talking about? She came here. She came here as the master requested, so that the door to the Golden Land would open, and so that everything would be returned to the Golden Land. She definitely said that to me.
In the past, the two of them, as furniture working for Kinzo, had been told what opening of the door to the Golden Land meant. So Shannon understood everything without having to ask a single question. And because of that, she felt a deep despair. Something tore at Cannon's heart as he looked at that expression, twisted with grief.
How could... Why? Why now? Didn't I tell you? We are furniture! Because you acted like a human, because of love, you're incapable of obediently accepting the day our service comes to an end.
A tired Cupid sought rest in a cave that belonged to Death. His arrows got mixed with arrows Death uses. This accounts for lovers dying and elders in love. Ah, that's funny.
Once I wished this day would come, but it never came, year after year. I didn't know how long we'd been forced to endure suffering as furniture. So I thought that day of rest would come for all eternity. I thought the same thing, but I believe that it would definitely come someday. So I never forgot that I'm furniture. But Nason, you did forget. my fault, isn't it? It was I who... Yeah, it's your fault, Ne-san. If only you hadn't experienced love, we'd both be happy this day has finally come. You built up too many pointless regrets. Even though you knew you'd have to leave this world someday. Will the ceremony begin tonight? Yes. And she said one more thing. Tonight, George-sama will probably give you an engagement ring, Ne-san.
That was a fact. George supposedly had an engagement ring hidden in his pocket today, and surely he would hand it over tonight.
She brought you two together, planning to use you as the sacrifices of the second twilight. Get it? She tempted you and took advantage of you.
I see. I never thought of that.
But she told me. She promised that if you don't accept the engagement ring tonight, you won't be chosen as a sacrifice, Ne-san. I think our chances of being able to go to the Golden Land together are very slim. There will be 13 sacrifices. Only 5 will be left alive. The chances of us being part of that group are tiny. But if you just accept her offer, those chances will rise. I want to take that bet. Our salvation is in the Golden Land. We're gonna reach that place and gain humanity. And then I want to live life as a human together with you, Ne-san. If we do that, we might be able to find true love.
In the past, we used to dream about being able to go to the Golden Land. If we go there, any wish will be granted. We'll be saved from this pain. That's what we believed.
However, in this ceremony, only a few people would be invited to the Golden Land, chosen by fate and chance. Everyone else would lose their life as a sacrifice midway through the ceremony. However, in the past, Shannon and Cannon had thought that whether they reached the Golden Land or were sacrificed, they would still be released from their duties as furniture. That meant this ceremony would definitely bring release to furniture like them, no matter what happened.
I don't like it. Together with you, I want to make up for all the suffering we've endured. I won't become a sacrifice. Ne-san and I will remain alive. And we'll reach the Golden Land together. So I won't let you become the sacrifice of the second twilight. Please, Ne-san. Don't accept that man's ring. If you don't accept it, she promised not to select you as a sacrifice.
I cannot do that. Tonight's ring is
Excuse me.
very special. My heart won't let me refuse it.
Ne-san! The sacrifices of the ceremony decided on the witch's whims. And that witch has promised to overlook just you, Ne-san. You alone will definitely be able to go to the Golden Land.
Only me? What about you, Cannon-kun?
The witch's game is enough for me. I'll slip through her clutches. I'm not powerless. I'll tightly grasp that faint chance. After all, our lives are temporary, aren't they? In order to begin our real lives, let's drag ourselves to the Golden Land. Then we will gain humanity. And when we've done that, maybe I'll be able to experience romance just like you, Ne-san. Maybe I won't have to make someone cry just because I'm furniture.
Cannon-kun.
I had enough of being furniture. I'll definitely become human. I'll escape this pain. No matter what.
There were tears in Cannon's eyes. By now, Cannon had noticed. Shannon hadn't been the only one to know and suffer from the taste of love. He had, too. The tears Jessica had shown him that day, and Jessica's pitiful face as she tried to smooth things over and stay bright ever since then, had slowly wrought some kind of change on Cannon's heart without him knowing it. Shannon, I've been calling to you for some time now. Shannon jumped at the sudden sound of Genji's voice. Apparently, he had called for her repeatedly. She hurriedly answered. When she turned back, Cannon had disappeared. It seemed he didn't feel like showing his tears to anybody.
Yes. I'm sorry for being careless.
I entrusted Canon with lunch, but it should have been you as the next in rank after me who carried it. Beatrice-san was the most honored guest of this house. There's no more honored guest than her. Please think of her as another master and be polite.
Please take extra care that you make no blunders, understand? It is quite painful for me to entrust this to someone as inexperienced as yourself, but there's nothing we can do about the house's rules. Carry out your duties with the utmost of care.
Goda had officially agreed, but he glared at Shannon with an expression that told her he definitely wouldn't forgive any mistakes. Even Shannon felt that Goda might as well go himself if he was so desperate to go, but she considered this one of her responsibilities as one who had been allowed to wear the Golden Eagle and had to give up. And anyway,
I wanted to meet Beatrice. What will I talk about? What will I ask? I don't know. Will this be a meeting of gratitude? Or one of grief? Or else what? I don't know.
Shannon piled the witch's food onto the serving cart and left the kitchen at a slow pace. The person knocking was Kraus.
Father, today is our annual family conference. Haven't the siblings gathered here just to get a glimpse of you? Ah, be silent! I say I won't leave! You're there too, aren't you, Genji? Why haven't you had my food brought here as I ordered you to?
Kinzo screamed across the door. Genji was waiting behind Kraus. Your meal has been prepared so that it might be carried to the study. However, Kraus-sama has expressed his wish that you eat downstairs tonight.
Father, I'm not asking you to do this every day. Just for this one night, won't you gather together with your family? Who are you calling family? Since when have you considered vultures circling and wait for roadkill to be family? Would you call rotting, oozing maggots family as well? My.
Kraus shrugged at this answer, which he had half expected.
Genji, carry the meal here as you were told. Why don't you listen to what I say? Why? Why?
Genji-san, I leave this in your capable hands. My voice will no longer reach that man. Kraus gave his head a small shake, and then quickly turned his back on the door to the study. He had only come calling to save face in front of his siblings, knowing full well how useless this was. After Genji watched Kraus disappear down the stairs, he called again across the door. Master, we have finished preparations for your meal to be carried here. Shall we bring some for Dr. Nanjo as well? Nanjo could be seen in the study. Because Kinzo had forcefully pestered him into finishing their long-lasting chess game, they had been playing against each other since the early evening. Nanjo had announced as a doctor that Kinzo's days were numbered, so he couldn't refuse if Kinzo demanded that they finish the game while he still lived. Kinzo was thinking deeply about his move, concentrating more than usual. It had been Kinzo's turn for quite some time, and Nanjo, who was tired of waiting, had randomly pulled out a book on magic that he couldn't understand and was skimming it.
Kinzo-san, you won't think of a good move just by folding your arms and sitting in front of the board. Perhaps we had better take a break and refresh our minds.
Be silent! That should be enough to solidify my defense. Will the bishop and the knight be able to penetrate that opening?
Today, Kinzo was focused on maintaining a strong defense. Normally, Kinzo's motto was that offense was the best defense. The offense was the best defense. However, today was completely the opposite.
I am also hungry. Shall we suspend the game here? Besides, I've used my head so much without a break that I'm already feeling dizzy. At this rate, I might not be able to perform at my best.
Now that won't do. In chess, both players must always make their best moves. Any other sort of move is merely a nuisance to consider, ruining a game whose focus is predicting your opponent's thoughts. Such a thing considerably reduces our enjoyment.
Kinzo sighed deeply and finally shifted his gaze away from the board. Chess isn't chess without an opponent. If that opponent is tired and wants to suspend the game, there's no getting around it.
True, the goal of chess is for both players to make the best possible moves and aim for victory. It's an intellectual game where reading your opponent is key. But Kenzo-san, have you forgotten that there's another goal besides victory?
What? What other goal could there possibly be?
To think that you of all people would forget something like that. Chess is a way to pass the time having fun with a friend.
You've got me there. I believe I once said those exact words to you long ago. Yes, you've got me there.
Kinzo, who almost always wore a frown, relaxed his face for once and laughed. Nanjo felt like he'd been reunited with a close friend he hadn't seen in ages.
That's how it is. Now that I've managed to take a shot back at you, what do you say? You go down with me and have dinner. Why don't we discuss Kasparov's middle game along with some coffee?
An appealing proposition, but I'm afraid I must decline. I can no longer leave this room. After all, the ceremony has already begun.
Is that so? Well, my stomach is growling. I will go downstairs. Anytime you feel like it.
Nanjo, thank you.
Oh, what could you be thanking me for?
We didn't finish our match. However, it seems I have somehow achieved that second goal of chess, which I had forgotten. And it would appear that goal is no less important than achieving checkmate.
This isn't like you. Why so sentimental?
You said it yourself, did you not? My days in this world are numbered. Now go. And don't come to this room again. Let us continue this match in the Golden Land.
That's fine with me, but we'll have to start over. Losing that rook was a serious blow. Well then, I will see you later.
Yes, later. Maybe in the Golden Land or in Purgatory. Or possibly in the next world.
Nanjo didn't say anything beyond that, and with a motion made smooth by familiarity, he pushed the button on the table that would release the auto lock. Then, after looking at Kinzo's back one last time, he left the study. As he did, Genji's voice came from the hall. "If you're ready, master, I will now carry in your dinner."
It may be my final dinner. I must savor it. Please, prepare it.
As you wish. And are your preparations complete as well, master?
Indeed. In the time leading up to this day, this room has been carefully wrapped in a multitude of barriers. Even if a roulette chooses me, I will definitely repel it. I will remain alive and will surely become one of those who reach the Golden Land. I shall repulse the visit of the Reapers trying to drag me off to the land of the dead. A room that's locked down tightly enough, he could be dead and the Grim Reaper might not even know it.
Excuse me. I have come to serve your meal.
Shannon entered the VIP room, bowing her head and pushing the serving cart. The young woman by the window, gazing out into the supposedly empty darkness, was definitely that witch. Hold up. I have an incoming call. I'll be right back.
Sorry about that. It was an automated call from the office telling me not to go to the office, but to work from home tomorrow. So, because they didn't like the fact that I didn't respond to the text, apparently. Yada yada to say. So, it is Shannon this time. How long it's been? Oh, your face isn't nearly as pale as it once was. I can see you're no canon. I hardly recognize you.
Thank you very much.
Shannon solemnly prepared dinner. There were actually several things she wanted to ask the witch, but they were all jumbled up and she didn't know where to start. Her heart was also jumbled up, and she didn't even understand her own emotions. So she could only do her job dispassionately, with everything still vague.
And thank you for the raid, Kishu. Glad to have you here. Or no, wait, that's not a raid. That's a subscribe. Thank you for the resubscription. Okay. Sorry, I got my raid alert and my subscription alert mixed up there. Well, thank you for joining. Appreciate you being here. How'd your stream go? It was good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Stressful. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure I know nothing about that. And I certainly wouldn't know anything about having contributed to that stress. Her heart was also jumbled up, and she didn't even understand her own emotions, so she could only do her job dispassionately, with everything still vague. However, the witch saw what was in her heart. You can't hide anything from a witch.
I won't apologize. I am a witch, after all. Apologize for what? Come now. Canon must have told you about it. I only rescued your love life because of my mischievous spirit. It was nothing more than a seed I sowed so that I could watch your love grow complicated, become twisted, and fail. I imagine some people think it's more fun to hear about love than to have it. You couldn't possibly be trying to thank me, right? I am. No matter what kind of ulterior motive you had when you gave me the magic of love, it doesn't change the fact that I received it from you. So even if you sowed that seed knowing that the two of us wouldn't be able to stay together for life, I won't hold a grudge against you.
And thank you so much for the resub, Reeve. Glad to have you here as well. How's your days been? Actually, you know what? Give me a moment here. I was just remembered. Actually, I set it to VIP. One of you want to try shouting each other out, please? Okay, so Reeve was last playing Banjo-Kazooie. And Kishi, you can give yourself a shout out as well. Or I can do it. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, so Reeve was last playing Banjo-Kazooie, and Kishu was playing... is it pronounced Visage or Visage? I don't know. Well, you've got my permission. I'm telling you to do it, so it's fine. If you were to shout out yourself while having the VIP or moderator status, that'd be kind of messed up, but you're not, so... Visage. Okay. Or... Okay, let's see. I'm doing fine. Today was just a weird day at work because of my boss again. Okay, so yeah, go check both of them out. Reeves, they're both variety streamers. Kishu will do a lot of different horror games because she has a jump scare counter thing going on. And once she hits so many jump scares, she does something special on stream. Thank you for the creepy noise, Christonium. Oh, a few fun streams? Okay. It seems furniture is dull after all. This is where I show my skill by cooking it into something interesting.
I don't understand what you're thinking, Beatrice-sama. You are a great witch, and people like us don't even reach your feet. Nor can we even imagine your grand thoughts. But there is at least one thing I can say.
Wow. Thank you for the wow, Reeve.
What is it? Thank you for teaching me to be human. You said it yourself. I am no longer furniture.
Be silent, furniture. If you were a true human, hearing the announcement of your death on the day that you were made to receive an engagement ring should have you dancing around mad with grief. But what are you doing? Your face looks so enlightened as though you've accepted everything. Truly an anticlimax, furniture.
No, I am not furniture.
Be silent, furniture.
I won't be silent, because I'm not furniture.
Are you saying you won't obey my orders?
Furniture obeys orders, but a human decides for herself whether to obey orders or not. So I won't obey your orders.
I take back what I said. You really are interesting. If I hadn't sowed those seeds, you probably would have allowed the ceremony to control your fate without clinging to any emotions. But now you've grown to something truly interesting, something that will entertain me to no end. That is well, for I am not fond of boredom.
Dinner is ready. Here you go.
Doesn't this look delicious? If Goda makes it to the Golden Land, perhaps I should commission him as my chief cook. She should have just said chief chef. That would have made it even harder for me to say.
Hello there.
Hello there, Westphalia.
I heard from Canon-kun something about how if I rejected George-san's proposal, you promised not to make me a sacrifice.
Indeed. I said as much. You would make an ideal potential sacrifice for the second Twilight, but because Canon cried and screamed, asking that I spare you, I graciously listened to his words. With the condition that you abandon your engagement, of course. See how gracious I am?
What a foolish offer. And what a foolish threat. So you used that to thoroughly bully Canon-kun, didn't you? Did you?
Oh? So you comprehend. Apparently Shannon had seen through it. She had apparently guessed at how the witch had bullied and humiliated Canon with that horrible promise as bait. I made him crawl on the carpet and kiss my shoes. And that's not all. Do you want to hear the other ways in which I humiliated him? Shannon silently shook her head.
I finally come to understand you. You like to bully, confuse, and trouble people, and you do it to entertain yourself. So now I know for sure the one single way I can resist you.
And what might that be?
I don't care about you. I'll carry out the fate that has been given to me, that's all. I won't entertain you.
I don't care about you? The witch's features twisted in hatred for just an instant. It disappeared immediately, but the expression that briefly rose to her face was rare for the witch, whose malicious smile usually never faded for a second. I see. So you might resist me in that way. How amusing. How truly entertaining. I'll kill you. You and your lover both.
If that's the fate you've decided on, do as you will. I won't be afraid, and I won't stand against you. After all, I don't believe the cruel fate that's coming is something controlled by your will. We humans know nothing about fates that might come to pass in the future. That's why I'll live to the fullest until the last instant, following my convictions and the fate set before me. fate is just a roll of the dice. There's no malice in it. Even if you claim there is, I won't believe it.
Oh? So even though you've quit being furniture, you have no fear of death. It seems that you believe this will bore me, but you couldn't be more wrong. The thought of seeing whether you can hold on to that view until the last moment merely serves to intrigue me more and more.
I can't stand this. Why did you take the form of a human, appear in front of us, speak with human words, and ridicule us? If you hadn't appeared in front of us, if you hadn't predicted the future, we would have been able to live life to the fullest until the last moment.
That's what witches do. I live off your fates, reigning as a high-order being does over low-order beings. Your fates are nothing more than fragments. If I cut my hands together, I could scoop out as many of those as I want. Just like no matter what the beef cows I raise might babble, it doesn't change the fact that I'll be having them for dinner.
We are powerless, so we cannot fight against your ceremony or fate. But I can make you unhappy right now.
Oh, and how you were planning to accomplish this?
By walking away from this place right now. No matter how I respond to your words, it'll only amuse you. Refusing to respond to your questions is my only method of resisting you.
I see. You might be able to take a shot at me, but you cannot defeat me, yes? I have the power to kill anyone for eternity. I cannot wait to see whether you can keep up that resistance in an endlessly repeating cycle of death and rebirth. Don't you forget it, okay?
You spoke those words yourself. Well then, if you'll excuse me. If you need anything, please call me.
Shannon gave a reserved bow and faced away. With that gesture, maybe she really did take a shot back at the witch, just as Beatrice had said. Because when the witch called out again, she sounded a little more quick-tempered than she had before.
Canon thanked me. Can't you? Can't you thank me for bringing you your day of rest?
Furniture may be happy when their day of rest comes, but I am a human, so I have nothing to thank you for. Is that all you have to say?
You plan to accept George's ring, yes? Don't forget that if you do, I will abandon the promise I made with Canon, the promise that you would not be selected as a sacrifice.
If you need anything else, I'll have someone else come. If you'll excuse me.
A flat-out interruption. Shannon still hadn't answered her, and the sound of the door closing came instead of an answer. Shannon's resistance probably struck far more deeply into the witch than Shannon herself thought, because an expression of hatred once again rose to Beatrice's face. She had made Canon submit, even though he hadn't been ensnared until the end, whereas Shannon, who had been so easily ensnared before, refused to submit this time.
I see. So this state of affairs is amusing after all. Perhaps I really am still young. This is why I haven't tired of life after 1,000 years.
This was the most fabulous part of the family conference, dinner. In the past, when Kinzo had been serious about the conference, he'd taken everyone's yearly gathering for dinner very seriously, because anything embarrassed that occurred during the dinner would cause the deepest shame for him as the host. He had given Natsuhi stern orders to avoid embarrassment at all costs. Because of that, she and Kraus eventually hired Goda, who had confidence in his cooking abilities. Thanks to that, they became able to serve wonderful dinners they could be confident in, but by that time, Kinzo had closed himself up in his study and never appeared for dinner. Maybe you could call that ironic. When the main dish for tonight, calf steak, was set out, Goda began to describe it proudly, further stimulating everyone's appetites.
The sauce here is Bordelaise. Of course, the red wine base I used was excellent even among those made in Bordeaux, but in addition, I prepared an original blend of this house. a blend of choice alcohol from around the world to further deepen the taste. This sauce is limited to this year. I sincerely hope you'll all enjoy your meal. Isn't that wonderful? However, isn't Bordelaise sauce common to French cooking? It almost seems like using alcohol from outside France with that is heresy. Kraus-sama, today is the annual family conference. As a dinner for those who normally live far away and who have traveled far from across the world to gather together, I realized it would be most fitting to have a sauce made from a blend of fine alcohols from all over the planet that have never met each other before. So I had it specially prepared. Wonderful! Truly wonderful cook, that's what you are! Food and medicine work twice as well if you sell it right. It's already twice as delicious as normal food, and the advertising makes it twice as good as that. The taste keeps doubling and doubling.
Come on, Nissan. That question of yours was obviously a planned. No doubt about it. You totally sent Goda-san up to steal the show on that one.
You think so? I thought there might be some people here who didn't notice that today's food was in the French style. After all, Ava just said that avoiding butter was a virtue, but that's the Spanish style. Well, I guess they do share a border, right?
That's not what I meant. Will you please not take part of the conversation out of context and make stuff up? It's a very delicious sauce. Goda-san, you certainly are amazing.
It is a great honor to receive your praise, and this is all thanks to Madam's habitual guidance.
No, it was all Goda's idea. I only listened to the recipe and approved of it.
It looked like the siblings quickly got into a loud argument about the sauce, but for the most part, dinner proceeded peacefully. However, a certain question they desperately wanted to ask burned inside each one of them. It was about that visitor, the 19th person, the Golden Witch. In actuality, Ava and Rudolph and the rest were very much on their guards during this meal. If the mystery guest was ever going to be introduced, this dinner table would be the most appropriate place to do it. However, no place was set at the dinner table for the witch. The family conference would begin in earnest after the meal, and previous experiences told them that it might last until deep into the night. However, they couldn't imagine why such a person should be kept hidden until that late if they were going to be introduced in the end anyway. So Ava and Rudolph and the rest were starting to feel a certain suspicion. Perhaps this guest was unknown even to Kraus. I'm curious here. Oh, I was hoping it was the suspicion track, but I guess I got them confused. Perhaps this guest was unknown even to Kraus. If this wasn't an assassin called by Kraus to give him an advantage in the inheritance problem, then maybe they should speak frankly to Kraus beforehand, creating a common front to resist anything disadvantageous to the four siblings. If she was Kinzo's assassin, whose purpose was to keep the inheritance from being handed over to the four siblings, the enmity between Kraus and the other siblings could only become a weak point that benefited the enemy.
Well then, please enjoy at your leisure.
When he finished explaining the reasoning behind the table setting and the cooking, Goda tried to leave the room, but Kyrie called him to a stop with a small voice.
Yes, Kyrie-sama. What is it?
Please excuse me. I was under the impression we had company today, but can we expect to be joined at the dinner table?
She had planned on saying it nonchalantly, but unfortunately it reached the ears of Natsuki, who was sitting in the next seat over. It seemed that Natsuki had heard it as, even though the guests are here, why hasn't the host come to dinner? In other words, that Kyrie had asked whether Kinzo was going to join them for dinner.
The family head is not at his best, so he said he would take his dinner in his study. I believe my husband explained that in the beginning.
Alright, well thank you, Kishu, for joining and for resubbing. Appreciate you being here, and you have a good night. Talk to you later.
I'm sorry. That's not what I meant.
Natsuki's reaction instantly told Kyrie that this unknown visitor was also unknown to Kraus and his wife, which meant, on the chessboard inside Kyrie's mind, she could hear the clattering of the pieces as they rearranged themselves.
What do you mean? We have company? Battler, who had been sitting next to Nazi, seemed to have heard Kyrie's words without misunderstanding them. Thinking it strange that someone else would be invited to today's family conference, he spoke up incredulously. And thanks to that, the uncomfortable feeling building in the sibling's chest suddenly exploded. Everyone looked at Goda at the same time. Judging by their reactions, it was clear that no one here had invited that mystery woman. For an instant, Goda was startled to find everyone's gaze gathered on him, but because of his naturally vain personality, this actually gave him a feeling of superiority. Therefore, he answered in an extremely calm and graceful manner.
That is correct. Our guest wanted to eat alone in the VIP room and is being served there.
That extremely graceful and reasonable response of Goda's made it obvious to everyone that a 19th person, a visitor, existed. The VIP room? A guest? What? Who are you talking about? Natsu's words echoed the question that everyone who didn't know about the appearance of the Golden Witch was thinking. For a while, Goda was disoriented, caught completely off guard by this sudden interrogation. This was a guest who had been treated with such deep respect. He hadn't imagined that Kraus and his wife might not even know about her.
The guest is, Beatrice-sama.
Beatrice! See? Beatrice came! Ooh! Alright, well, thank you for joining as well, Westphalia. Have a good night. Glad to have you here.
Maria had been telling the other cousins over and over again that she had met Beatrice that day. The cousins had answered flippantly, but they hadn't believed, so their eyes grew wide.
Sorry. I totally thought you were joking, Maria. So she really was there.
By Beatrice, you mean that Beatrice with the gold? Ooh! I've been saying she exists all this time! No one believes!
Sorry, Maria-chan. That's not how we meant it. After learning that everyone had doubted Beatrice's existence, Maria, who had been in a good mood all day, completely lost her temper. George, who sat in the next seat over, tried frantically to calm Maria.
Goda, is this some sort of dinner entertainment? Quite a performance.
Aniki, quit playing dumb. You called Maria, right?
Called? Called whom? From where?
Nissan, let's be clear about this. Who is she? Surely you aren't going to tell us it's really the Beatrice from that portrait, right?
I don't have a clue what you people are talking about. Goda, you really aren't joking, right? I was just ordered by Genji-san,
Call for Genji. Immediately! When Natsuhi yelled, Goda sped out into the hallway. The sound of the door being thrown open was a spark that suddenly set the dinner table ablaze. So you're saying you're in the dark too, Aniki? Who called her? Was it Dad?
I don't know anything about this. It seems you people think I've been pulling the strings behind the scenes, but that's a huge misunderstanding.
Calm down, Kraus-Nissan. We've gone past the stage of skirmishing with each other. If you're saying even you don't know this mystery person, then something crazy is going on.
Hideyoshi-san, can't you be a little more discreet with your words? My husband would not invite unnecessary people to the family conference.
Obviously. What are you people talking about? Are you saying the witch of the portrait has broken out of her frame and appeared? It's not as though anyone has actually met with this witch face to face.
I met her.
Ava and Rudolph nodded at Rosa's proclamation.
Ooh! I met her too! Uncle Kraus, believe it! Believe Mama! Ooh!
The brief tension was broken, and Maria also started to make a ruckus. By now, the room was thoroughly wrapped in chaos.
I don't have a clue what's going on. So what does it mean? Does it mean the witch who gave Grandfather the gold is showing up as a special guest here?
But is that really true? Oh. Aunt Rosa didn't see it wrong, did she?
I met her too! Ooh!
Aunt Rosa, are you sure?
Yes. Maria and I met her, and we even talked to her. I met her.
That was definitely a witch. Believe me. I definitely didn't see it wrong or hallucinate or anything. What on earth was that?
In the instant before the typhoon arrived, Rosa definitely met a witch in the rose garden. But the scene had been so hard to accept as truth that the more she spoke of it like this, the less she understood what it was she had encountered. Ironically, since she was losing her composure, the more frantically she tried to cling to her claim, the more confused and hazy the thing she was describing became. Because of that, it only took a single calmly spoken sentence to confirm the nature of what she was describing beyond doubt.
I also met with her. I greeted... Well, I couldn't really call it that. I exchanged a few words with her. It's definitely not something that Rosa-san just saw wrong. Kirie-san, are you serious? Yes, but she didn't tell me her name, so I can't say for certain that she was Beatrice. However, and sorry if this is subjective, but since I met her in the entrance hall, I was able to compare her face with the portrait. My first impression was that this portrait has to be hers. This is all just subjective. That isn't possible. In the first place, where did that woman come from? The only boat arriving today was the one that brought all of you here. Was she on that boat?
Well, it's hard to say for sure. Of course, I don't remember any woman like that getting off the boat with us.
Oh, is that all? Can you prove there wasn't a boat besides the one we rode on? You can't. You can't prove one didn't come.
Makes sense. If another boat did arrive, it might be possible to prove it, but if someone saw it and said... If someone saw it and they said they saw it, then you're done. But it's impossible to prove that such a boat didn't arrive. But even if everyone says that no such boat arrived, that they didn't see it arrive, you can't prove that it didn't arrive secretly. It's that thing they call a devil's proof. It'd be simple to prove the devils exist. All you have to do is meet a devil. But it's impossible to prove that devils don't exist. Just by saying that no one has ever met a devil, you can't deny the possibility that they're hiding away somewhere humans can't go. You can't deny the existence of aliens for exactly the same reason. Until humanity searches the whole of space and can show perfectly that aliens don't exist, you can't be sure that they don't exist. And it's definitely impossible for us to ever check the entirety of space for the existence of aliens. Therefore, while there may be a number of ways to prove that aliens do exist, it will always be impossible to show proof that denies their existence. So any discussion about there being a second boat would just be a waste of our time. She wasn't on the boat with us, that much is a fact, so she must have arrived on this island through some other means. That's right. There may be no need to discuss how she came here. What's important is that she's actually in this mansion now and doesn't feel like having dinner with us. Okay, let's review. Right now, there's another guest on this island other than the 18 people with the Ushiromiya family, and this is a guest even Aniki and Natsuhi-san don't know about, right?
I know nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Be silent for now. Your headache will get worse. It's as my wife says. I have no idea what you people have been talking about up until now.
Then there can only be one answer. Father called her here for today's family conference.
For the family conference? Again, why?
I don't know that. I'm questioning you because I thought you might know.
Ava, could you give it a rest? Rouse-Nissan said he doesn't know. So here's what we've got. Father stealthily invited the witch of the portrait as a secret guest, and she met with Rosa-san and Maria-chan and then Kirie-san. That's all for now. If she has something to say to us, she could just show herself right away. Now we gotta wonder why she shut herself up without greeting us.
Does this mean Dad, who never gave a crap about at this family conference in the first place, secretly called a new mistress here? And had her wear the clothes of his ideal witch? This day's too important for that explanation to fly.
There can only be one reason. To join in on the family conference. She wants to claim some right to father's inheritance. Ridiculous. The family head wouldn't have something as filthy as a mistress.
I told you to be quiet. I've lived in this mansion with Father all this time, and I've never heard a thing about something like that. If we stretch plausibility to the limit and assume Father had an illegitimate child with some mistress decades ago, then maybe Father searched her out and called her here today. Is that what you're trying to say?
Dear! It's absurd to think Father has such a child. To waste the noble blood of the Ushiromiya family on a mistress! This is nothing more than a few people making wild claims. It's obviously a fantasy, a delusion, a daydream. Or is everyone taking some part in some kind of act to trick my husband? What act? If anyone's acting, it's you!
Quit it, Aniki. Natsuhi's-san may be a bit over-vehement, but she's right. Kirie saw her, I didn't. Neither did you, Aniki. But Rosa did. But that means she exists. There are people who can prove she exists, so we're sure right away that she does. It's the opposite of a devil's proof. And I want to meet her too. I want to ask her directly what kind of business she has with the Ushiromiya family.
I agree with you on that. I do indeed wish to inquire as to what business she has on Rokenjima.
Don't play dumb. There's only one thing she could be after. Father's inheritance. We should work out our future plans with a lawyer who's hot on inheritance issues. If the mistress claims equal rights as mother, then our shares will be cut right in half. Wait a second, everybody. Genji-san will come very soon. He knows everything. I'm sure he'll answer our questions. Until then, let's stop talking about this. Hey, you kids! Sorry, but the adults have to start talking about something complicated. Return to the guest house.
Rosa yelled at the children, slightly overcome with emotion. The children didn't understand why they were suddenly being yelled at this time, but Ava and the rest realized it too late. They were talking so bluntly about the filthy topic of the inheritance right in front of the children. Of course, they wouldn't want their children to remain. So they all immediately agreed with Rosa's plan.
That's right.
Just as Rosa's...
Excuse me.
Just as Rosa-san says. George, take all the cousins, go back to the guest house. You all play nice together.
George, do as you're told. Take all of the cousins and leave right now. Wait a second, Mother. We still haven't finished eating. Ooh, and dessert hasn't even come yet. Ooh. We will have Goda-san take dessert to the guest house, so leave. Jessica, from here on, the adults will be talking together. Go. Sure. Even though I'm still eating. Well, I guess I won't be the only exception. Thanks for understanding, Badler-kun. But you sure are lucky.
Huh? Why?
I'd want to leave if I could. I bet. I'll let you enjoy your happy family chat about the inheritance.
I will also leave my seat. At any rate, it appears my turn will not come tonight.
Nanjo quietly rose to his feet. From his seat in the farthest corner, he had been calmly watching the whole discussion without butting in. Surely, that reaction of his was very adult, just what you'd expect of a calm old gentleman. When Nanjo rose from his seat, it ended up encouraging the others who were supposed to leave. The children noisily rose from their seats, and as they hurried into the hallway, the servants returned.
I apologize for taking so long. I have called Genji.
I was checking to see that all the doors and windows were shut, so it took me some time. My apologies.
Come on, children, to the guest house. Goda-san, my apologies, but could you carry the children's portion of the dessert to the guest house?
Huh. Is that what you wish?
It seemed Goda wasn't amused to see the dinner he'd worked so hard on be interrupted like this. He sent Natsuhi a look as though asking her whether that was really okay.
Do as Rosa-san says, and it will not be necessary to set out dessert for us. Do not approach the dining hall until we call for you. Tell the rest of the servants to do the same. Understood? Hey, Hazel K, thank you for the raid. Glad to have you here. How'd your stream go? You were streaming Horizon Forbidden West, I take it? Went well? Alright, awesome. Alright, well, glad to have you all here. I am Dr. Novelle. I am
I stream a variety of content, do visual novels on Wednesdays, mostly because those are going to be shorter streams, and I can't do like a 4-hour stream of voice work. That's just a bit much for me, but we may actually be wrapping this up soon. I'm not entirely sure how much left this chapter has, but thank you for being here. I appreciate you all. Hope you guys all enjoyed the previous stream that you were on. Alright, where was I?
Yes, as you wish. Come, everyone. Shall we go? Maria-san, you mustn't trouble your mother anymore.
Ooh. I want to talk about Beato too. No. Ooh. Maria-chan, could you tell us about Beatrice in the guest house? I really want to hear about the witch. Okay? Ooh. You're pretty darn smooth, George Nissan. I'm impressed.
Are you sure you don't have kids? You're too used to this. George's words had completely restored Maria's good mood, and now she took the initiative, telling others to head on to the guest house. It looked like Goto didn't like being kicked out himself, but he couldn't disobey Natsuhi, so he left the room with Battler and the rest, closing the door.
Is there some way I might be of service, everyone?
Yeah, there sure is. We've got a whole bunch of questions. In fact, every one of us does. So much that we almost want to have a lottery to see who gets to ask first.
But no matter who wins the first lottery, the first question will be the same, won't it?
That's right. Genji-san, answer me honestly. Who is this person called Beatrice in the VIP room right now? Oh, well, that's the end of the chapter right there. Came sooner than I was expecting. Well, if you enjoyed that small sample of content, I will be back with more of this next Wednesday. Sunday, I'll be streaming more Horizon Forbidden West, so if you want to see more of that game, I hope to have you there. Let me see if we can spread this raid around a bit. Let's see, who is on? Let's see. Paul for All Seasons is on, but he started a lot earlier, so there is a good chance he's going to be wrapping up soon. So let's raid Just Jetty tonight. Right, so thank you all for being here. Again, I am Dr. Novelle. Hope to see you again soon. I plumb forgot what I was going to say next, so enjoy the raid, everyone. Have a good night.